Hey everyone, Bracy here. So I think we are stepping over into our double digits for the vlogs. Here we are, Bracy vlog number 10. It's been cool getting here actually. Just 10 videos. I know for most people that's probably not a big deal, but for me that's actually a lot. Even though there's absolutely no views on these things, but as I kind of mentioned in the very first one, this wasn't for other people. It was so I got into the practice of doing it, getting yourself into the habit of constantly returning and doing something that you want to get done, want to see done. Sometimes it's a hard habit to build up, and this is one that I really wanted to build up because I really do believe that the future of communication is ultimately content. And when I'm saying communication, I mean ultimately our communication back and forth between each other. I think emojis represent a very interesting evolution in how we communicate, and you don't even have to just stop at emojis. I mean, those things are growing. Like each year, there's more and more and more emojis. Like we're gonna surpass Chinese characters at some point, and then Chinese characters are just gonna become emojis, and we're just gonna understand what they mean, right? And you can add gifs to that as well. People are communicating emotions because those gifs actually say more of what they want to say than words and memes and all these different things. They're showing an evolution in how we are able to communicate to one another. And I don't think that content is much different than that. Ultimately, content that we put out there represents larger packages of concepts that we want to communicate to somebody, even if that communication is just like, I want to feel like a badass because I'm shooting people, which this day and age is, I mean, I'm done with it. I'm done with that kind of content. You know, I want content that entertains me but also leaves me enlightened in some way that I wasn't before. I want to be educated to some extent by my content, and you should too. Like, that should be something that people just expect. We've gotten to this point where we can have something that's educational be as entertaining. It just takes more energy, but it's possible. Things that are just exciting, but there's no other value than excitement, it's vapid, and it's a disservice to everyone involved because everybody could either do better or get better, and it totally affects our environment. It totally affects our political process. It totally affects everything, to the food, down to the food that we eat, just because there's so much more information that we need to know, that how we communicate that information becomes very important. It needs to be part of how we just generally communicate with each other, with factual information. You know, that we need to up the amount of factual information that we get, and not just information for entertainment's sake. This is a long step away from what I'm usually talking about, which is QPVR, what we start this thing talking about. And so, you know, the proposal's almost done. I've got the proposal packet down, and I'm making this proposal video. And as I was finishing this thing up, to leave what we were just talking about, but as I was finishing this stuff up, I was going through my Twitter account, and for those in the know, this guy named Ben Lang, who's a journalist specifically in the XR region, more specifically towards virtual reality, he made this six Twitter posts, like 6-post Twitter, that point for point was talking about how he didn't believe that the industry was going to hit mass adoption until these very specific points were made, and those points were everything that the platform is, everything that I'm working on, QPVR. It was pretty freaking crazy. I'm really excited. So of course I screen grabbed all of those things and then made them part of my proposal, because it's like, this journalist, who's one of the most well-known journalists in this industry, really just kind of set my case for me. He just really kind of put it all out there. Like, from his perspective, somebody who's been in the industry longer, not much longer, like a few years longer, but longer than I have, just point for point kind of called out like, wow, I don't think this industry is going to really hit mass adoption until we have something like QPVR. That's awesome. That's awesome. So this is great news for me. Even though it's a very lonely journey, but hopefully this is interesting to somebody in the future. Like at some point, it's possible that somebody might be like, hey, you know that guy who started QPVR? Well, he started making videos about it before he actually pitched it, and then before he actually started building the platform, and before, and now, hey, like there's this kind of digital trail about it. That's the hope anyway. You know, this might just be something fun for me to look at when I hit like 55 and I'm like, yeah, this is another one of those crazy things that I did, and I thought I could make a platform, and then da-da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, you gotta try. One last thing before I go. The thing that really inspired me, I don't know if I said this in the very first post, the very first vlog, but I was watching the latest Spider-Man movie, and there was a moment in the movie where a character says to Peter Parker, "Don't apologize for being the smartest one in the room." And that really struck me because I've been studying this stuff. I've been a part of the industry for over 4 years now, and I've been researching for a little longer than that, for over 5 years now, the industry, understanding the issues that are involved, and I had these ideas that I believe, well, these are the solutions. This is the best way to do it. And because I didn't see anybody else doing it, I thought I must be wrong. I must be missing something. And so that really made me step into things as if I wasn't able to rely on myself. And so when I heard that in the movie, it's not that I was like, I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I should move forward as if I'm confident in myself. Like if somebody had the level of knowledge that I have in a different field, I would trust them. I would trust what they have to say. Not everyone's right all the time, but I should be that confident in myself if I would be willing to be that confident in somebody else. And I just thought that was an interesting thing to hear, and that really launched this, because I was like, so who's that person going to be? If it's going to be the smartest person in the world, in the room, if it's smartest person in the context of the situation that's going on, and they need to know what they're talking about, how would I know that they know what they're talking about? And I was like, well, they'd probably be making content. They'd probably produce something and constantly communicate that they knew what they knew. And that's where I feel like I was really lacking. As much as I've been doing over the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't had much to show for it except for experiences that I've built. But since the industry that I'm a part of isn't widely spread, not everyone has access to virtual reality equipment, and because of that, it made sense that I start putting myself out there. And instead of doing what I usually do, which is hold my ideas close to the chest until I can present them the way that I want to present them, I decided let's flip that again. I'm gonna just tell you what it is that I'm doing. I'm gonna put it out there so people understand. Oh, he's making an XR platform. He's making a frictionless XR platform, so people can go from one virtual environment to another and not have to look at a loading screen. And not have to be bored. And it's socially fluid, so other people can do it with you. And if I discover content and they're like music or videos or images or even like mobile games, I can go into the app on my phone and then still access those things. Oh, and they're also like organized in a way that makes sense because I found them in a room, and that room happened in a certain order. I have that organization capability as well. So just making things fluid and more human as we step into this more seemingly less human world that's in front of us. But I digress. This I could go on about this for a long time. I think that's a good place to call it. Thank you again for watching. I'm Bracy, and see you on the next one.